the industrial Internet of Things, the IoT, the connected homes, connected lives, connected cars, the risk is changing. And so that plus the digital interaction is making insurance companies saying, I have to change my business model. I have to look at how I analyze information and data differently.
Hi, this is Sogan Bhartia, and I want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors who make this show not only possible, but also a lot of fun. Being a sponsor of the show has its own benefits, including, but not limited to, appearing on the show itself. So if you want to become a sponsor, please check the details we have posted below. And now, let's go ahead and enjoy the show. Hi, this is Swapnil Bharti, and we are here in San Jose to cover DataWorks Summit. And today we have Cindy from Hortonworks. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking your time out and talking to me today. Can you tell us what do you do at Hortonworks?
Sure. I am responsible for the industry solution team, which is really focused on the business value of data and analytics. And I've also personally responsible for the insurance and healthcare. So data and analytics, especially from an insurance perspective, is really changing, how we do business and so forth. So it's fantastic to be able to, leverage technology in a different perspective than maybe what we have in the past in our respective industries.
So for how long have you been in this industry?
So I've been in the insurance industry for 20 plus years, and I've been with Hortonworks for not quite 4 years. Always been passionate about data and analytics and technology. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the business world, focused on, finance and accounting, and firmly believe that where we are as in society and just where we are in business is we're a technology age, and kind of like view myself as a person that believes in reinventing themselves and focusing now on taking that business acumen and embracing technology.
Right. And most of the insurance companies, I think they're more than 100 years old. Like there are some I met.
Oh, it's 500-year-old industry.
And when these companies, which has been around they have a lot of legacy systems in place. So what kind of challenge do you see, working with these companies versus the technologies or companies which are barely, few years old?
Yeah, so it's interesting. This morning I had an industry breakfast, and you think about the different aspects of data and analytics. And as an industry, we're built upon predictive analytics, just the nature of actuary. You take money to pay for a future cash outlay. You do that from a predictive variable perspective. And what's interesting is, from a big data perspective, we've got all different types of data that's available to us. But yet, we're using big data to help us with reporting and dashboards. That's where, and then you've got the innovators that are getting into the likes of, telematics and new data sources, looking at, deep learning to do better predictive models and so forth. But as an industry, we're really struggling from a cultural perspective. How do we take and embrace technology better? And so that's actually my role at Hortonworks is, working with and kind of being that advocate, being that evangelist for leveraging technology, leveraging data and analytics to solve business problems. So coming from a business background of accounting and finance, focused on the profitability, how do I leverage data and analytics differently?
So when you engage with these companies, you come from that same background, what is the biggest challenge that you come across? Is it technology or culture or people?
It's culture and people. And actually at our breakfast this morning, we were talking about our biggest challenge is not, process and technology, it's people. Mm-hmm. And how do we get people to think differently? How do we, you talked about an industry being so old.
Right.
It's almost this sounds horrible, but it's inbreeding. Mm-hmm. People just gravitate from one insurance company to another insurance company. So that's one of the things that we've got to change, and we need people that are out there driving thought leadership on there's different ways. How do we learn with the connected communities, connected economies, and connected ecosystems, to better, You know, you look at Google, you look at Amazon, you look at whoever. They are going to be the revolutionary arm to change the insurance industry.
But when you do talk about people, what is the friction? What is the problem there? They have the old mindset, or they are not very prone to new technology? What is the problem?
I think it's the older mindset of we've always done things this way.
Okay.
And you know, until we get some fresh thought, innovation, and honestly, our industry, the insurance industry, spends $2 billion a year on insurtech. But then they try to figure out, how do I fit this back into what I previously did, as opposed to, let me take this and move it forward. So that's one of our biggest challenges, is the culture and the people.
I mean, Hortonworks is definitely a tech company, but do you somehow try to help these companies in changing the mindset? And if you do, what is your, how do you do that?
You know, I think it's what we do across all of our industries is talk about what the business values. And when you leverage, data and analytics, it's not to, especially from a big data perspective, it's like, what questions can I answer? And, what things are keeping me from, succeeding as a business entity, or how can I actually improve profitability? How do I monetize information and data? You look at what Allstate's doing with their division Arity, everything in the connected car community, leveraging connected car information and monetizing that to then sell it to the rest of the insurance industry. So there's that level of innovation where people are like, okay, they see a concept and so forth, and that's how we're moving forward. But it's moving much slower than at the pace that it needs to be moving.
So is it also that, of course, there are so many different ways to change it, but fresh people, but I don't know if the fresh people are interested in this kind of industry or not.
I think we're starting to see the fact that being in the digital age, we have to look at things differently, how we interact with folks, our customers, and that's kind of what's, I think in the last probably 18 months, I've seen the insurance industry say, we need to do things differently.
All these companies are also going through digital transformation. So that also means that, a lot of developers are now taking over the role. So do you think that may also help them? Because, as with every industry, developers are becoming the king and decision makers. So that may also help those companies, and that will help you also.
Right. That, and then also the fact if we look at, technology, and you look at, everybody's saying, well, artificial intelligence and so forth. I think for the insurance industry, it's going to be augmented intelligence, at least probably for the next, 5 to 10 years. Hopefully the innovation will happen sooner than that, because you think about just insurance in general, the nature of the risk is changing. And I think that's finally what is making people understand they need to do things differently. Because how you look at the technology, the industrial Internet of Things, the IoT, the connected homes, connected lives, connected cars, the risk is changing. And so that plus the digital interaction is making insurance companies saying, I have to change my business model. I have to look at how I analyze information and data differently.
What is augmented intelligence?
So augmented intelligence to me is there's certain types of insurance that, so you look at commercial insurance or business insurance, very complex type risk. So sometimes you still need a underwriter to actually evaluate, look at different information. So how do I use artificial intelligence to help the underwriter or help the actuary? So I refer to that as augmented intelligence.
Okay.
So, I've got, how do I make humans smarter, as opposed to certain aspects of insurance will not probably go to full, technology enablement. And you can do that for certain types of, like personal lines, automotive, as a commodity type insurance product. But a complex, I'm looking at earthquake, I'm looking at, flood, who knows if I'm going to have a volcano erupt and certain types of things. You probably still not going to have just a machine learning or an AI model make those types of underwriting decisions.
Right. And you did mention a lot of things, IoT and everything. How is it changing? Is it when is it creating challenges for insurance companies, or is it creating opportunities to collect more data which may help them?
I think it really creates more opportunities. The other aspect is as we move from predictive analytics to preventive analytics, and that's how the insurance industry needs to leverage IoT, is to why did I have a loss? So if I have a loss, what was the cause of loss? So how do I use analytics to find and truly determine this was the real reason for the loss? Then say from that, is there a way that I could use IoT? Is there a way that I could use sensor type information and then use that to actually monitor risk? So kind of a risk listening, risk monitoring. That's probably the most effective. And we're seeing pockets of that start to surface with like Munich Re or Hartford Steam Boiler and a few other insurance companies. You look at Progressive Insurance, and what they're really trying to do is make drivers safer drivers, as opposed to like just calculating, your price of your premium.
And we did talk about your journey, but before we started this interview, we touched upon, some diversity related topic. So in your journey, did you come across any such, how has been your own journey,
So my own journey is I look at, I start out in accounting, finance, and auditing. And I mean, my God, I'm like, 30 years ago in business. And you think about the 1980s, and you think about, some of the music that was out there, Helen Reddy, I am woman, I will roar, and stuff like that. And, now I see 30 years later, here we are in a technology age, and women in business in the 80s, and the challenges we had entering the workforce and so forth. Now granted, it happened really kind of the late 70s, but really making a presence, and how do you do the work-life balance and so forth. And probably people in my age demographic are, we married our careers. And so that, you became very ingrained in business to succeed and so forth. And for me, I see similar type things from a challenge perspective now in technology. And you have women that are in technology, you've got the women that code and so forth. And it's an interesting, comparison to look 30 years ago, and I see the same patterns happening again. And it's like, how do we actually look at the work-life balance? How do we make sure that, and I'm looking at this from a female perspective, but how do we make sure that there's the mathematics classes, that women can take? And, we're very analytical, but I think sometimes people just think of technology as, I'm going to be a coder. Women are some of the most analytical human beings in the world.
Right.
And so I think from a data and analytics perspective, the women can bring a lot to the workforce to, look at patterns and look at things differently. We don't all have to be coders. In fact, we know, organizations are, how do I automate code development? So how do you go to the next level of data and analytics? And, you just don't have to be a coder and think that coding is technology.
Yesterday there was a women lynching. Mm-hmm. Were you there?
I was.
Okay, so what was it? What was the discussion there, and what was it about?
So it's really about how do we, as women in business, women in technology, focus on, it goes back into the education, the curriculums, the mentoring, and so forth. Those are really some of the top topics, and. I think just as we're in any type of format, it's, you can be a mentor or you can be a mentee. And so making sure that we reach out and saying, is there somebody that's, either helped me? And we don't have to be, from a mentoring perspective, anybody can be a mentor.
Right.
And so how do we leverage a better ecosystem of that? And I'm also, people also are giving back. So if you've had somebody somewhere along your career and this helped you, is, how do we make sure that, we do that from generation to generation? And sometimes it's like, it may not even be from a generational perspective. It might just be, people in our same age factors. It's like, how do we get through some of these items? So it was a very great conversation.
Right. We talked about technology, we talked about business, we talked about diversity. Let's just talk about you for a second. When you are not doing all this business, what do you do in your free time?
Oh my gosh, I probably spend a lot of time traveling and in airplanes, but if I actually look at, the areas of opportunity, I love to garden. So, I think there's something great about being able to see, nurturing, something grow and something of beauty. So I'm a gardener.
So do you bring your garden with you in the planes?
No. It's like when you get home and you're like, gosh, I wasn't home this week, so everything burned up. So what do I do? So
have you set up, a machine learning automated watering system so that, your plants are always watered?
No. I have another app that, like when I'm gone, he takes care of all of that.
So he's your machine learning.
He's my machine learning algorithm. And I'm like, you know what? These things need to be watered on certain days. You don't need to, you have to remind him. It's like, write the card down. Succulents only get, watered certain days of the week and so forth.
So is it easy to work with a machine or easy to work with him or her?
I think it's easier to work with a machine.
I kind of agree, yeah. So I have cats, so whenever I leave, somebody else has to, so I do know it's just really interesting. It's better to work with machines, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Than us humans.
Right.
Anyways, Cindy, it was nice talking to you today.
Nice talking to you as well.
Hopefully we'll see you again at the next conference.
Okay.
And thanks for taking your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.